Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining our League Apps Learning webinar today, where we're going to cover tools for handling COVID-19's impact on your sports programs. But before we jump into the agenda, I'd like to first introduce the League Apps Vice President of Customer Success, Geeta Arora, to say a few words.
Thanks, Taylor. Hi to the audience out there. Thank you again so much for joining us today. We know it's been a pretty surreal few days for everyone as things continue to evolve as it relates to COVID-19. And we all work through what that means for our families, our programs, our businesses, our organizations, and try and kind of address the uncertainty that's been introduced in the last few days. We recognize that this has an impact on all of you and what you're doing for your communities. And we appreciate the effort that you guys are all putting forth to try and figure out how to turn this into a positive for your communities. So what we want to do as a League Apps team is try and help you find ways to do that during this uncertain time. If there's anything at all that the League Apps team can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the contacts that you have or support@leagueapps.com, and we will be more than happy to hop on a call, talk through things with you, help you figure out how to do things in the platform above and beyond what Taylor's going to walk you through today, and just generally share with us what's on your mind so we can help create the programming that's going to be most material and meaningful for you in the coming weeks. Today is going to be the first of a few different sessions that we're going to run. We'll be doing a few more of these virtual sessions over the course of the next few weeks. But today we're really going to hone in on a few features of the platform that don't ordinarily get a lot of use, but we think we're going to be more relevant for you and your organizations at this time. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Taylor to dig in a little bit to how we can handle some of the programming and financial implications of what's happening right now through League Apps. But on behalf of the League Apps team, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you again for everything that you do for your communities. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us for anything that you need or anything that we can help you with while you're navigating COVID-19 and kind of what it holds for all of us. So with that, Taylor, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Geeta. I'll now introduce myself formally. As you see here on the screen, my name is Taylor Collins. I'm the support team lead here at League Apps. You all have probably spoken with one of my awesome teammates, Brittany, Tyler, or Steven, either by phone, live chat, or email at some point with your time at League Apps. But I'll be your webinar host today. And a quick FYI, we're all working from home at League Apps to do the social distancing, which means we're all using home internet. So that means I may run into a blip at some point during my presentation. If that's the case, one of my co-hosts will take over, or we'll just wait for it to pass for my internet to come back on. But we'll go over the agenda here, what we're going to cover today. We're going to go over program postponement and cancellations, how you can update your programs and mark them as canceled. We're going to go over some schedule adjustments, how you can turn off notifications or cancel events and games. Then we'll go over communication tools and tactics, how you can use the League Apps messaging feature to get the word out to your members and participants. And then we're going to go over some financial options, issuing credits, refunds, things like that through our invoice tools. And then we're going to go over some questions and answers. So Q&A point at the end. You can submit the questions through the webinar tool. There's going to be an ask question feature there. So you can go ahead and explore that and see if you find that now. But before we jump right into that, I want to go over a few things that Geeta mentioned here. We're going to have a virtual town hall tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can sign up for that by going to events.leagueapps.com. I'll show you that page here before we finish up. We also have some helpful resources for you going out on our blog, blog.leagueapps.com. Some great stuff there from our team. And then we have a lot of great resources as well on our help site. We have a resource guide for COVID-19 topics specifically there at support.leagueapps.com. And then of course, the League Apps support team here, as I mentioned, myself, Tyler, Brittany, Steven, you all know us by name. We're here 7 days a week, 365 days a year to help you out with whatever you need, and that's support@leagueapps.com. So let's jump right into it here, and we're going to start with our first topic, Program Postponements and Cancellations. So I'm logged into a LeagueApps demo account here, and we have plenty of data in here where I can show you everything that we need to today. And where we're going to start is with a particular program, a spring basketball league. That's a pretty common scenario we're running into. And I first want to show you quick ways to get to your programs. The way I use the most is I just come down to my top programs, and it's usually listed here. We're going to see the Spring Basketball League is listed the first one. You can also quickly search for programs at the top. And here's the program as well, so you can find the program like that. Another quick way is we can come to Manage on the right here and All Programs, and then use the filters at the top to quickly find which programs you're looking for. For example, you could work through all of your live programs first to make any adjustments to those, and then perhaps filter by your upcoming programs, the programs in the future, and work through those. And then on that regard, the quickest way to shut down a registration is by using this registration override status here on the right. So this can be a really quick way. We're kind of in a situation where you need to maybe buy yourself some time and shut down registration and then go do messaging later. So we've kind of structured this webinar in a way to kind of stop things in their tracks, and then you can go make the finer adjustments later. So for example, let's say all my live programmings or all my upcoming programs, I need to turn off registration. Here on the right, you're going to see the override status, and all I have to do is click this and then set it to canceled, and that will stop it. For a grouped program such as you see here, every subprogram has its own settings here. So you'll see for each subprogram, I would also come in here and set these to canceled as well. And you don't have to save anything. As soon as you set it here, it'll be marked as canceled. So I'll go back to the Spring League and show you some more specifics about that one. So what we're going to do is go into a particular program. And what we want to do is use the edit details page, because this page typically has all the information that your participants will be looking for before they start to register. So I'm going to bring up this registration landing page here just to see what this would look like. So there's some confusing information here if the program is actually going to be canceled or postponed. So we just want to make sure that this is all accurate. So I'll come under settings here in the program, back in the management console, and then edit details. Now, what I always like to say when I'm talking to clients is be very explicit with the name. You don't want to mince any words here. That's why we have, Spring 2020 instead of just Spring Basketball League, because people get confused about what year it is, things like that. And we don't want to do anything different if the program is canceled. We want to be explicit. So a good way to tell people know that it's canceled is put it right in the name, just like that. That's the first thing that people will see when they actually make it to that landing page. Next, we're going to see that the activity dates are still here. So a quick way to hide that is just to uncheck date is visible, which will remove the activity dates from the registration landing page. If you cancel registration here using the registration override status, you'll see you can set it here as well on the edit details page, as well as the way I showed you before. You could also remove the registration dates if you're worried about that being confusing for your members. So these can be deleted. Those are optional fields here. Next, a good place to put any additional details you want is right here in the program description. So here you could type in a note, copy and paste something you wrote up in a text editor, and put it right here on the program profile page. So you can say, all programming is, oops, make sure you spell it right, suspended until further notice. You can put whatever you like here. You can even put kind of a call to action here or something for them to look out for, be on the lookout for messages from us so that they know to be checking their email for messages from Surf City Sports in this case. So now I'm just going to click update at the bottom. And if I come back in here and refresh the page, these changes take place immediately. And we're going to see the name has the word canceled in it. The registration has been shut down. It says canceled. The dates have been removed, so that that information that may have been confusing to people has now been hidden. And then we have our custom message here from the program's description. So I want to make an important distinction there. That's a per program setting, everything I just showed you. If you run a lot of programming, you'll need to do this for each one. Like Akita said at the beginning of the call, if you're in a position where you don't have the people or the hands to do that, we're happy to help. We're going to work through those requests as they come in, but we will be available to help you out with those requests if you need it. So next, I want to go to the schedule portion of the program. And this is very important because here, if we look at the schedule for this program, we're going to stay in the same spring basketball league. We're going to see that there are a lot of events on the calendar here. And what that means, if you use the League App schedule, is that anywhere from 1 to 5 days, depending on your settings, people get automatic reminders about these events and games. People also may have this synced to their calendar on their phone using our calendar sync feature. So it's important to get ahead of this so people aren't getting erroneous reminders about things that have been placed on the calendar in League Apps. So let's kind of look at this again from shutting things off right away, and then you can go work on it after that. So every program has its own setting for settings for reminders. So I'm going to come to settings here under the Spring Basketball League, settings, and then preferences here. I have it disabled here already, but by default, this setting is enabled. This is game event reminder email. So if you want to shut off reminders for games and events, you just simply come to settings and preferences. You'll uncheck this box and then scroll to the bottom and click Save Preferences. Again, that's a per program setting. You'll need to disable that for each program where you're using the schedule. Next, let's go look at the schedule itself and see how you can delete, reschedule, or cancel games and events. So I'm going to click Schedule at the top, and we're going to see all those events and games here. Now, the first thing you want to do, a quick way to post information to your members as well as turning off the reminders, is right here at the top. You're going to see a feature. This actually doesn't get used very often, but it's very helpful in situations like this. You'll see I can add a schedule notice. So I'm going to click Edit here. You can say all games and practices have been canceled until further notice. And I'll click Save here. And where this will show up is right at the top of the schedule page. So I'm going to refresh this again. And here we go. We're going to see this notice right at the top of the schedule page for this program. So that's a good way to post a notice regarding all of your calendars, just kind of a blanket statement about what's going on. And that'll buy you a little bit of time to actually come in here and manipulate these events and games to either cancel them or reschedule them. So let's go into those items here. So we're going to draw a distinction here between events and games because the process is a little different for either one. If you're one of our club team organizers, most of your stuff on the calendar is going to be events. These are going to be your practices, your team meetings, things like that. If you're a league organizer or tournament organizer, you're probably going to be dealing with game schedules. So they're a little bit different. So we'll go through events first, and then I'll show you games. So here we're just going to use this practice as an example. This very first one, we'll see it's a Wednesday practice at 7 p.m. for the Nets team at Surf City Field. Right here on the right side, you're going to see an icon for cancel. It's this circle with a line through it. If I click cancel, if you use the repeating event feature, which allows you to book, essentially schedule, same practice for the same team at the same day every week for 20 weeks or so, you can edit all of them at the same time. So let's say you needed to cancel all of the practices at once. You click edit all events in this group. It's going to give you a little prompt here. Make sure you review that, and then you can check the box to notify participants of the cancellation. That will trigger an email to everyone involved with those events, and then you click yes, cancel this event. So that's pretty simple. If you just wanted to cancel one, you can just click that icon again and do only this instance, and then yes, cancel this event. And that's canceled. Looks like maybe I accidentally canceled them all, but that's okay. So those are now canceled. You can also edit an event, you can click the pencil icon and do it from there the same way. You have more options when you edit it. So if you needed to reschedule a practice, I'm going to say a quick thing about rescheduling. Don't reschedule a practice unless you're absolutely sure, or an event or a game unless you're absolutely sure it's going to happen, because that's an opportunity to generate confusion for your members. It might be better in some cases to delete the practices or the games and then reschedule them later when you absolutely know that they're going to happen. So I'll go ahead and click the pencil here. I'm going to edit only this instance. And now we'll see I can change the dates if I want to. So I could say this is at a different day, a different time, if that is certainly the case. And then I can also cancel the event just like I showed you before, or I can also delete the event, which just removes it from the calendar. And in all three of those instances, I can notify the participants of changes to the event. So you might be asking, what's the difference between canceling and deleting? Deleting it actually deletes it. It's gone. You can't get it back. If you cancel it, it still appears on the calendar. So I'll show you what this looks like to your members. So we'll refresh the screen really quick over here on the member-facing side. And here we're going to see that these practices are listed as canceled on the schedule here. If you deleted them, they would just be gone, if that makes sense. So next, let's go look at games. So we do have a few games here on this calendar. We're going to scroll down to those, and we're going to see this is a little bit different. When it comes to games, you're going to have an option to delete the games for a particular day or week all at the same time. So we see two games scheduled on this particular day. And if I wanted to delete these, both of these games at the same time, I could just click delete games and then accept the prompt here. And that would delete them. You can also select reschedule games, but I'm going to discourage you all from using that as well, because if you reschedule them for next month, it's very possible that you'd have to reschedule them again, which is generating more work for yourself and just generating more confusion for your members. So be careful on what you choose here. It's of course up to you. You can also delete or cancel an individual game. So if I click the pencil here, you'll see there's an option here to delete the game. And that would delete just this game. If you wanted to cancel an individual game, that would be like entering a score. So here I would click the trophy icon. And then instead of entering a score, you'll see there's an option here to cancel the games, or just this game. So this is an individual game. I'm going to show you here in a minute how you can cancel a whole bunch of games all at the same time, if that's what you need to do. So you don't feel like you have to do them all at the same time or one by one. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here. There's another option here. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top and show you this. Let's say you needed to delete all the games for a particular program all at once. And this is deleting the games, not canceling them. If you delete the games, they're gone. You'd have to re-enter them later, which is fine in some cases. But I'm going to scroll up to the top here. And here at the very top, you're going to see an option to delete games. Now, this doesn't work for events. Like events for like your club teams, these are different. This is just to delete a game schedule. So if I click delete games, I could delete all the games on the entire schedule all at once. And this is a per program thing. So with that, I'm going to segue over to messaging and start with how you can message your participants and cancel games all at the same time. And then I'm going to go into some other messaging tools. So here, I'm going to focus on entirely the Compose a Message tool. This is a very powerful messaging tool in LeagueApps to notify your participants of things going on, which a lot of you are doing now. So I'm going to come to Compose a Message. And at the top here, we're going to see some filters. Filter by members, filter by programs and games, and then send to admins only. So the one we're going to focus on first here is filtering by programs and games, which is an instance where you want to send a notification out to a specific program or programs, teams, or maybe you just need to notify people about games, which is the one I'm going to show you first. This is actually, I think, a pretty rarely used feature, but it sure is going to come in handy for situations like this where there's a lot of scheduling changes going on. For you club team organizers, this may not be very relevant for you, so just bear with us. We'll get to some more relevant content for you here in just a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is filter by programs and games and then choose which programs I need to target. You can do all of your programs at once, but make sure you're choosing these carefully. But what I want to come here and look for is my canceled basketball league right here. And then I'm going to have it target all teams. And then right here, which is easily overlooked, you can filter by games. So I'm going to select this option. And then which games are they? These are games for this week. I'm just going to eyeball it here and do it for the month of March. You'll know your schedule better than anyone, so make sure you're selecting the relevant date range here so you capture the entire span of games that you need to cancel. We can choose all location, all game types. Again, you can set these filters as needed. And then right here, you'll see a message. If you're sending a message about canceled games, do you want to cancel these games now as well? And then you select yes, cancel them. Next, you're going to scroll down. There's a ton of other filters here that may not be necessary. One instance here might be you just want to message team captains. If you are an adult recreational sport organizer, you could message just the team captains instead of everyone. So there's a lot of options here. I could spend an entire webinar on just this tool. Next, I'm going to come down here and choose what type of message I want to send. I'm going to choose an email, and then we can put in our subject line, and then you'll type out your message here. So a question we get pretty often is, how do I save an email? Where can I save this email in my drafts? So we don't have like a drafts feature, but we do have an email templates feature, which I'm going to take you to now, where you'd be able to choose from a template. But once you had your message crafted here, you just click send this message, and then that will go out. You'll see you can also preview the email or send a test email to yourself first if you want to take a look at it before it actually goes out to all of your members. And then you'll click send this message. So let's look at another scenario where you'd want to send a general note out, as League Apps has, to all of you about COVID-19 and what's happening with the program. And that's going to be a great way to use the email templates feature because we actually provided a template for you. So I'm going to come to messaging and then email templates. Now this is a great feature for everyday things because practices get canceled all the time because of weather, unforeseen circumstances such as this, where these email templates can save you a lot of time. So we're gonna put a template in here for this particular circumstance. And this is also a great way to work on an email for a little bit, save it, and then come back and finish it later. So that's why I was saying it's similar to like a drafts feature where you can work on an email for a little bit, save it here in the templates, and then it'll be available for use later. So I'm gonna say this is COVID-19 message. And then here's the template we shared with everyone. This is also available in our blog, blog.leagueapps.com. You can find that there. And I'm going to come here and grab this message. Whoops. And copy that. And then come back here and paste this in. So here's what I mean. I could save this. It's not ready to go yet, of course. I have to make some updates, but an hour later, once I've done some things around the house, I can come back to it, click the pencil here, and now start filling in the blanks. And I can continue working on that as needed. Once I'm ready to actually have it be available in the message tool, I would click this publish checkbox and then save template again. So I'm going to come back to the compose a message tool and show you how this could work. So I'm going to come to messaging, compose a message, and I want to send this out to everyone. So I'm going to click filter by site members, which will send out to anyone that's ever created an account in your League Apps account. So this is going to target everyone regardless of program that they've signed up for. If you do use our newsletter feature, I'm not going to get into that now. I think if you use it, you know that you use it. If you don't, you probably don't. But if you do use our newsletter feature, you want to select all email contacts because that will include them as well. And then scrolling down here, we'll choose an email. And then I'll put in my subject line. And then here is my template, which I crafted via messaging and email templates. Of course, it's not ready yet, but this would drop in here the latest version of the template I just saved. And then when I'm ready, I can send this message to everyone in my account. All right, so the next thing we're going to touch on here is invoices and the financial things and such like that. So this is going to have us kind of circle back to the particular program we were just working on. and use the invoice report. So there's a lot of different ways to get to invoices. You can get to them via a member's profile. You can go into the program itself. Just about every report in League Apps has a way to get to an invoice. But to keep it specific here, I'm actually going to go to the invoice report here in League Apps by going to Reporting and Invoices. Now, I'm going to talk about this for a little bit before we actually go into an invoice and start to show you some things that can be done here. A question we're getting very often is about fees and refunds, and I'm going to get into a method here to avoid both of those in just a minute. But with League Apps, let's say we had a $20 invoice and you refunded somebody $20. That member is going to get all $20 back. And then the next question is, what happens with the fees? League Apps credits you all the fees back as well. Some of you may be using a different payment processor other than League Apps Gateway, and your payment processor may still charge you fees on that transaction. That's up to you and the payment processor. I'm not sure about those. But as far as I think probably most people on the call, we do return 100% of the League Apps fees back to you. So let's go into some of these invoice actions here. The first one I want to show you, which is another, I think, lightly used feature, is the credits feature. So I'm going to come into a paid invoice here, this one right here. And rather than issuing a refund, a very helpful feature that could be good for you in this time is the actual credit feature. So what I would do is under actions here for an invoice is I can click issue site credit instead of issue refund. So what a site credit is in League Apps is like in-store credit. So if I issued a site credit here, this would be Surf City Sports credit. And what your members can do is spend this credit on a future registration. So they can't spend it on past registrations of products, but they can use it when they're signing up for your next program. So this is a good way for you to retain the fees that you collected, and also encourage people to sign up once this whole thing is past us. And you can also issue credits for a greater amount than they actually paid. So in this case, where somebody paid $20, I could come here and issue them a credit for $25, which gives your members a little bit of bonus and incentive to come back and sign up and get out and start playing sports again once this coronavirus pandemic is in the past. So I'll show you how that works here. It's very simple. Under actions in an invoice, I'm just going to click issue site credit. I can enter the amount here. I'll go to $25. You can enter a note, this is optional, and then I'll click submit. You'll notice this is a per invoice action. Again, we understand that some of you may have many invoices to be working with. If you do need help, let us know so we can help you out with that. You're not alone. So the next thing I want to show you here is where this credit lives. It'll be in the member profile, so we could go look for the Dunn family and find it there, but a helpful report to see all credits will be under Manage and Credits. And here we're going to see that credit I just issued, where you can edit it or delete it as needed. The next thing I'll show you is how to issue a refund or to void an invoice. So a thing about voiding in League Apps is if the invoice was paid online by credit card, like this one was, you'll see here in the transaction history, you'll see how it was paid for, charge, League Apps Gateway, stored credit card used. If you void an invoice and the charge happened within 180 days, then the refund is automatically triggered and the invoice is closed out. So that may be a quick way for you, some of you that do need to issue refunds, full refunds for each invoice, is to come into each invoice and simply void it, and that will trigger a refund. And I'll show you the difference here between void invoice and issue refund. So voiding triggers a full refund. If you select issue refund, it's going to ask you to put in the amount. So it's just an extra click. If you have a lot of invoices you're working through where they need to be full refunds, voiding an invoice may save you a couple clicks there and some time. So the next thing I want to show you here, actually let me back up just a second. If you need to issue partial refunds, don't do void. That's where you'd definitely want to come to issue refund here under actions, and then enter the refund amount here, such as $15, $10, whatever partial refund amount you need to do, and then click submit. Same as a full refund, we would issue or credit you back part of the fees. So in a case of a $20 charge, if you did a partial refund for $10, we credit half those total fees back to you. So same as a full refund, the refund is free. We give you the fees back no matter how much. So a quick little trick here I want to show you if you are working through a substantial amount of invoices, how to not lose your place. I've done this before. We do it all the time here where we have to work through a considerable amount of items at the same. We don't want to lose our place to be quick. So I'll come to reporting and invoices again. And then I'm going to set my filters here at the top where I can look through a specific program. So let's say I'm looking for only invoices in my canceled league. Then I'm going to click apply filters here. And here we're going to see a bunch of invoices. I think this is an old program, so I'm gonna have to set my date range back pretty far. So just bear with me for a second. So here we have a bunch of invoices, and imagine if these were all paid. Some of these are voided, things like that. But it'd be tough to click on an invoice, then you lose your spot, and then you have to go back and try to remember where you were in the list. A quick way to keep your spot and keep this list open is to open these invoices in a new tab. So if you're on a PC, you'd right-click on the invoice number. If you're on a Mac using a touchpad, it's a 2-finger click on the touchpad, and then I'll click this and then select open link in new tab. And now I can tinker with this invoice as much as I need to, close it, and then come back to the list, move to the next one, do whatever I need to here, close the tab, and then this will let me to allow me to keep going back to the same list I had open without losing my spot. And that's a quick way to go through those items one by one. So what I'm going to do now is take just a minute to review some questions here and look over some notes from my co-host to see if there's anything I missed or if they have anything for me there. So just bear with me for just a second. I'll be back with you in just a minute. All right, I'm looking through some questions here. The first question, a very good one that I'm glad was asked. How should I handle upcoming installments on payment plans? That's a fantastic question. So, as many of you know, League Apps has a very powerful feature. It's maybe a reason that some of you actually came to League Apps, or one of the reasons is auto billing. You can have a substantial amount of invoices be automatically billed if you're using payment plans, which means for some of you, you have some automatic charges coming up on April 1st, I'm sure. So what do you do with all those invoices if that's the case, to stop the automatic billing or to delay a payment? So I'll show you here. We're going to stay in the invoices report, and we can actually go to the program where you have your payment plans. I'm going to see if I can actually just find an invoice here. So just a second. Oops, I'm running into a date range issue. Just a second, everybody. All right. I've confused the system, so just bear with me for a second. Okay, we'll try this again here. All right, I might have to create a payment plan invoice or log into a different account, so just a second here. Here we go. Here's a program that has a payment plan invoice. So what you can do, I'm going to come into this one, and what you're going to see here are in a payment plan invoice, which looks a little bit different from the other ones, is the installments will be listed. So I'm going to add in a new installment here, and we're going to put the date at April 1st for a good example. So any invoice that has a future installment, one thing you can do is you could edit that installment date to push it out. So for all of your participants that have an upcoming charge, you could go look for their invoices via the invoices report or otherwise, and click the pencil for the upcoming installment and simply adjust the date to a different day. So you could say, I'm going to push this out a month. You could set that there and then click submit. The page will refresh, and now we'll see that this upcoming payment has now been pushed to May 1st. If you have a payment already scheduled on May 1st, LegalApps is not going to let you put 2 installments on the same day. So you may have to actually push this installment out to beyond the last one. So let's say your next installment due is on April 1st, but your last installment due is July 1st. You may actually need to delay the April 1st installment to August 1st, push the whole thing back a month. Another thing you can do is under Actions, if somebody does have automatic billing enabled, there's going to be an option here under Actions to disable autopay. So you can go through each invoice under Actions and disable autopay, which will turn off that automatic billing if you do have pending charges coming up and you need that to stop. All right, I'm going to look through a couple other questions. I have a question here. Does canceling events and notifying also send out a text message? If you are using the text message feature, no, it does not send out a text. The only way to send out a mass text message is using the compose a message feature here. Messaging and compose a message. So that is a good point. I would say if you are making these mass schedule changes, it's going to be a good idea to follow up with your members via the compose a message tool anyway. So once you make your schedule changes, it's good to follow up with them via the mass message tool where you could send out a text message. And we have a time for a few more questions. I'm just going to look through a few more. Here's a good question. When sending a message, can I choose more than one team but less than 3 and send them the same message? Yes, absolutely. That's using the filters via compose a message tool as well. I'll show you that quickly. So if I filter by programs and games and then select a number of teams or a number of programs, we're going to see the teams are listed here. And what I can do is select as many or as few teams as I want. So if I wanted to select more than one team on a Mac, you'd hold down your command key and select more than one team. If you're on a PC, you'd hold down the control key and select as many teams as you'd like to send a message out to all these teams at the same time. When canceling games via the message tool, do players also get the game cancellation notification? No, they don't. They'll just get the email you sent via the compose a message tool here. I have another question that's similar to working through the invoices. I want to give all spring players a credit or coupon for the fall. How do I do that all at once? And those on a scholarship, how do I exclude those players? So there's not a way to do the credits all at once. It doesn't need to be given out individually. And that's also a good opportunity to exclude anyone that may be on a scholarship or already have a discount to not give them a credit. But if you're under the gun and you need help doing that, let us know. We're happy to lend a hand in issuing credits. All right, I'm gonna answer one more and then we'll be just about out of time. So I'm gonna look through these again. Here's another good one. And then we'll finish up with this one. Let me see if I have any others. There are a lot of questions, by the way. If I didn't get to your question, we're going to be following up with answers to all of these questions. I'm just picking ones out here that will apply to a lot of yous, or a lot of you. Here's a quick one I can say yes or no. Can families see the amount of their site credit from their dashboard? Yes, they can. If you issue it to them, they'll see it right away. And then another good clarification here. Voiding an invoice won't remove the player from the program. That is correct. If you void an invoice, it simply voids the invoice. They will still be in the program. My personal advice is that's a good idea to leave them in the program. If you start removing people from programs, you'll kind of lose a record of where they were and what program they were in, which is going to be important to access later on. So I'll give you kind of the two-way street there. If you void an invoice from the invoice, that person will still be in the program. Let's flip that. If you go to a program and remove somebody from the program, the invoice will still exist and will not be voided. So that's an important distinction. If you remove people from a program, don't assume that their invoice is going to be voided or refund or the installments will stop being auto-charged. That invoice will persist and you'd have to go make the change from the invoice as well. So that's why I focused on the invoice actions, because if you need to stop the automatic billing, that's going to be the best place to do it. So we'll go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to review a few other things really quick. I want to first thank everyone for joining. We had such a huge response to this. You're all such a strong part of the youth sports and adult sports community. We couldn't do this without you, and you all can't do it without each other. So we're going to stick together. And again, if you need help, please let us know. Real quick, this email that I was displaying is on our blog, blog.legalapps.com. And I'm going to show you these really quick. I'm going to go through these. So here's our support site where we have the COVID-19 resource guide. A lot of the things I went through today have step-by-step instructions here. That's support.legalapps.com, and there's a button right on the homepage for that. We have the events page, events.legalapps.com, where you can sign up for our town hall tomorrow and also explore our other upcoming events. And then here's our blog page, blog.legalapps.com, where we have some very helpful resources for you during this crisis. So I want to thank everyone again. We'll have this recording available at some point as well, and we will be sending out answers to all the questions that didn't get answered. And everyone have a great day and stay safe.